Reish Lakish, the 3rd century bandit turned Amora, brother-in-law of Rav Yochanan as well as his interlocutor, makes a fascinating statement on Sanhedrin 7b. And I quote, Amar Reish Lakish says, Kol amamid dayan she'eno hagon, anyone who appoints a judge who is inappropriate, ki'ilu notea asherah b'Yisrael, it's as if he planted an asherah tree, a tree used for the worship of Avodah Zarah, of idol worship, amongst the Jewish people. Where does Reish Lakish get this juxtaposition from? This week's Parsha. The Parsha begins with Shoftim v'Shotrim titen lecha b'chol sharecha, to appoint judges in all of your land. And the next section talks about the prohibition of planting an Asherah tree next to the Mizbeach, next to the altar. But other than this juxtaposition, what's behind Reish Lakish's statement? It's a very odd statement. Planting an Asherah tree, appointing the appropriate judge. I would never put those two things in the same sentence. So what's behind that? Before we answer that question, I want to start with a short story. Yafa Eliach quotes this story in her book, Hasidic Tales of the Holocaust. There was an old Hasidic rabbi from Danzig. He would walk through the town every single day, saying a Guten Morgen to the people in town. And when he would reach the outskirts of his walk every single day, he would pass a man working in his field whose name was Herr Mueller. And every day he would say, a Guten Morgen, Herr Mueller. And this Herr Mueller would respond, a Guten Morgen, Herr Rabbiner. When World War II started, Herr Mueller was shipped off to the SS, and Herr Rabbiner was shipped off to Auschwitz. We'll come back to the story in a couple of moments. Rav Zalman Sorotzkin, the great 20th century rabbi, author of Uznaim LaTorah, explains the question that we began with. What is the connection between hiring an appropriate judge and planting an Asherah tree? He says, if you think about it, when you plant an Asherah tree, you plant the seed. You don't worship the seed. You don't worship the sapling. You don't worship the young tree. You worship a fully matured Asherah tree. So when you plant the seed, you've done virtually nothing. But with time, if you let it fester, it will eventually metastasize into a tumor. It will eventually become the Asherah tree. The same is true of the inappropriate judge. At first, the judge will probably fall in line with the judges who follow the rules. But the more power he consolidates, the more comfortable he feels, the more he'll take advantage of the system. And once he's there, he might have other judges who are not so ideal join his ranks, which will eventually corrupt the entire system of judges. In other words, a small act, a small thing like planting an Asherah tree seed or appointing an inappropriate judge, if left unchecked, can become something terrible. But the same is true in reverse. The little things we do sometimes have a much bigger impact than we would ever realize. It was selection day in Auschwitz, and Herr Rabbiner was amongst the Jews being selected at that moment. And he was online, and he heard a very familiar voice. And when he got to the front of the line, he realized it was Herr Mueller. And he said, a Guten Morgen, Herr Mueller, to which he got the response, a Guten Morgen, Herr Rabbiner, go to the right, to life. And in his 80s, after surviving the Holocaust, this man shared this story with Yafa Eliach, and he said, that's the power of a good morning, of a Guten Morgen. It's the small acts of chesed, the small giving of tzedakah, the being the smiley face or the friendly person for the people who need it in those moments. We don't realize the dividends that they pay. We don't realize how the little things that we do, if left unchecked, can sprout into love amongst people, amongst Jews, amongst the world. We don't realize that the little problematic things that we do erode at our souls, cause us to go down a certain path that we may not really want to go down. It's the month of Elul. It's a month to think about, what are those little things that I can fix? Both the good things and the bad things. And hopefully, we can remember that no matter what, we do our best do one little good thing at a time. A Guten Shabbos.